I never saved any money, all the way up to 40. Millions, made millions, spent millions.
This might be the worst financial situation I've ever seen.
Don't be a loser like me.
Okay, so in today's video, we're going to be going over a lot of people's financial mistakes. I've made a video like this in the past, and it seemed like a lot of people liked it because you could take it two ways. Either this could just be completely entertainment, or you could use it as education, because it's not just the same video over and over again of somebody buying a $100,000 car when they make $50,000 a year, and clearly that's a bad mistake, but it's all across the board. So there's a whole bunch of different types of people in these videos, a whole bunch of different mistakes, and maybe you could also learn from some of them instead of making the same mistakes yourself. So we have a lot of videos to go through. I don't know if I'm going to get through them all, along with a lot of your comments from the previous video. So if you want to be featured on the next video, leave your comments down below, along with any topics you want me to talk about for future videos. But we're going to start off with one of them that I bet a lot of people around my age actually know from watching shows on MTV, and we could check out some of Rob Dyrdek's mistakes in his life.
I never saved any money, all the way up to 40. Millions, made millions, spent millions. Highly successful, highly successful millionaire who had made millions and spent millions in the age-old cycle of the poor. The age-old cycle of the poor. It doesn't matter if you make $12 million a year or you make $12,000 a year. If you spend every bit of money that you earn every single year, you both end up in the same place, the same struggle, the same chaos, on two completely different scales.
So we're starting off with somebody who most people would say is very, very successful. I think everybody's seen an episode of Fantasy Factory or Ridiculousness. A lot of people know who he is, along with being a professional skateboarder, but it didn't matter that he made a lot more money than most people will ever make in their lifetime. He was not financially literate for a very long time, so he just spent and spent and spent, and you still end up in a similar situation where you don't have any money, even if you have a TV show and brand deals and you're well liked in society. It still screws you over if you don't know what you're doing. Now, I know it is still pretty different because he is a celebrity, so he knows a lot more people in industries that can make a lot of money, has a lot more connections to maybe people in LA, Hollywood, wealthier people compared to just normal middle class families. So he still does have an advantage and the opportunity to make more money in the future, even though he spent it all. But it still goes to show you could be rich and famous and super popular, make TV shows, but if you're not good with your money and don't have any knowledge on how to save and invest and grow your wealth, you're just going to end up spending as much as you make, and that could be in the millions. The next video we have is something that's very common in my age group, and I would even say the generation over me. As soon as they start getting promotions or start getting decent jobs, maybe out of college, if they do get a solid degree and land a corporate job, a lot of people end up making these mistakes.
My life changed the day I got this lesson. If you're taking notes, listen to this podcast, you want to pause this, just listen to this over and over again. The biggest mistake that people make with their financial lives, with creating wealth, is as they make more money, they simply start spending more money. They go on nicer vacations more often. They get buy nicer clothes, a nicer car, bigger house. Next thing you know, they're having the same amount of money in their bank account as they did when they were barely making any money. They just have a little bit nicer life. The key to creating financial wealth is learning to live on less than you make.
So in the age of social media and everybody flexing, everybody's got expensive purses, super expensive clothes, a brand new luxury car, they're going on vacations, and a lot of the people are just getting into credit card debt because they don't make that kind of money. But some people do end up making more money, getting promoted, getting a better job, and the first thing people want to do is upgrade situations in their life they don't really need to upgrade. Now, I'm not saying you have to live in a hostel and drive a car that's on the brink of just blowing up as you're trying to get to work, but people immediately want to be able to get like a lease on a 3 Series or a new Mercedes, or start going out to nice dinners and spending a lot more money, and then they end up in the same situation like the first clip, Rob Dyrdek. If they start making $100,000 more a year, but they bought a bigger house that they don't really need, they have a new car payment loan along with expensive insurance insurance because it's a new luxury Mercedes or something, that extra $100,000 a year could just be eaten away at even more expenses. So yeah, you have fancier stuff now, but you're still in the exact same situation as you were a couple years ago with the last job. So we have a comment here from one of you guys in the older videos. This whole world is full of scams and fraud. Please be extra careful of these actually educated professional people because they're really good at manipulating and brainwashing you at your expense, and people fall for it. Many of them are fake and do not care about you, and you know who I am talking about. Now I'm not saying this comment has any relation to anything in this video, any of the people we're going to be checking out, but there are some content creators that I bet you've seen before scrolling on Instagram or watching YouTube videos. Some content creators make it look like they're way wealthier than they actually are. Then they make you want to have all these nice, special, expensive things that they do, even though a lot of these things are rented or leased. They could just be replica items like shoes and clothing. And then a lot of those people will have some sort of course for you to take because, you know, magically they made a whole bunch of money from cryptocurrency or NFTs or Forex trading. I mean, the list goes on. And then those people end up making a bunch of money because you spent $500, $1,000 on courses that were kind of just basic knowledge. If you really wanted to look up the information, you could just find it on Google. You didn't have to have some fake guru tell you about it in a series of just YouTube videos behind a paywall. And that's been happening for several years now in all different avenues. I've seen a lot of the investing space be riddled with it, self-help, any of the reselling stuff like Amazon FBA, even like eBay businesses I've seen. It is all over the place. And unfortunately, a lot of people fall for it and ends up hurting you more financially in the future than just completely leaving it alone. Up next, we have another one that I bet a lot of people will relate to in some way or another.
What has been your biggest financial mistake?
My ex-girlfriend.
Oh, okay. In what way?
Vacations and, just dinners. Just
Okay.
didn't work out.
And this is why she's your ex-girlfriend.
This is why.
Okay. And if you could go back, what would you change?
It was a good experience, so
Yeah.
lesson learned. I don't think I'd change much.
Lesson learned. So
Yeah.
now just pay for less vacations and dinners?
Yeah, stay single.
Stay single. Okay, that's the advice. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Now, I'm not saying right off the bat that this guy is just 100% right. I would say a lot of people end up doing that sort of thing, dating people, kind of again connecting to the other clips, flaunting the wealth or trying to make it look like you make more money. You go to expensive dinners with somebody, you go on expensive vacations with somebody you haven't really been with for that long. You end up spending way more money than you probably should. And if it doesn't work out because of one thing or another, you're now out a lot more money than you would have if you just had normal dates. Maybe you made food together and you didn't go on vacations when you really didn't know much about each other yet. And I know a ton of people online, both men and women, will constantly go at each other going, I'm going to stay single forever. And it's actually getting close to like the toxicity of politics, of people just lobbing shots back and forth at each other on either side. So I'm not telling you have to stay single to save a whole bunch of money instead of going out and having a girlfriend or having a boyfriend and, spending more money than you should. But there's more and more people every day that get very angry talking about this topic in any way whatsoever online now. So you could take his advice any way you want, but we have several comments back to back, all from you guys talking about the same thing. So I guess this was a heavy talking point on one of my older videos. My cousin spent $80K on a wedding. It was probably the most disappointing wedding I have ever been to. I was a wedding caterer for high-end weddings. They start at $45,000 and the high end was $400,000 to $500,000 just on one wedding alone. Clearly the $500,000 stuff will be for upper class people. Normal middle class people aren't paying that much, but there are still a lot of people paying the $30K on a wedding, like the next comment, who are still normal people that make $50,000 to $100,000 a year. As the owner of a catering company, I never understand why people get these elaborate weddings. I mean, it keeps me in business, but I would never do it for myself. And this was all just talking about one single clip of a woman spending, I believe, $30,000 on a wedding. That, I mean, you obviously could have invested in and made more money from it, or had an insane honeymoon and been able to travel the world for $30,000. And I talked about my own experience of somebody that I know that spent $50,000, and we have comments from you guys that's even more expensive. So this does tie into the last clip, spending a whole bunch of money on vacations and going out to eat and all that, and that could end up tying into getting married to somebody and spending way more money than you probably should.
This might be the worst financial situation I've ever seen. How are we going and spending $225 on just Chick-fil-A? Why are we doing that? But we're just not simply making a minimum monthly payment on a card. You have chosen Chick-fil-A over dealing with the bills that you have signed up to pay. Do you not care?
I do care. Like before I really combed through my finances, I was like, well, I'll be honest, I guess I didn't care. But now over the last few months, I'm like, where is all this money like going?
So if you didn't care before, I'm curious, like, what has made you?
Graduating college and realizing, oh, can't survive on my own and my parents aren't going to help me forever.
Okay, you started wanting to change after graduation. This was your most recent statement, though. So this just happened. We were just like, nah.
I was spending every last dime on like gas. Like every day I was like filling up.
I can sympathize with that if we didn't just look at the statement through the same exact time of you just around and spending money on $250, which you had a minimum monthly payment of $40. You could have paid that.
I could have. I chose to ignore it.
There it is.
So, I mean, the financial mistake is pretty clear. Obviously, buying stuff that she really didn't need on credit cards and then just not paying it back, and the interest gets all out of whack. I've talked about it several times before. I mean, you know, the $250 at Chick-fil-A, that's a good amount of food. But I think there are a lot of people in that situation where they get into that bubble of getting told nonstop, you got to go to college, then they go to college, and then they end up getting a degree. And then magically, as soon as they graduate and get a job, they actually have to be an adult, and they're not just going to make $200,000 a year and be able to pay for all of this kind of frivolous spending that they've done over the past several years. And I feel like it's just been getting worse and worse with the younger generations that are graduating college, getting degrees, if they could even find a job right now. Because I've already talked about it, I wasn't terrible with any finances. I never spent money that I didn't have when I was like 18 years old, but the only reason I ended up being even more financially responsible and doing all the things you're supposed to is because I ended up wanting to work for myself. And you kind of have to be good with your finances and budgeting and all of that if you do want to work for yourself. I had to look it up on my own, and a lot of people never end up doing that, and they get into huge financial debt because of it.
What has been your biggest financial mistake to date?
Getting a credit card and abusing it when I was like 20 years old.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that, I guess, shocked your credit score?
Yeah, to say the least.
Okay.
And like it takes so long to recover from that.
Yeah.
It came down to not being taught properly how to use it.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah.
And so how has that affected you like now?
I've applied for credit cards then over the last like 10 years, and it's been difficult. I've had difficulties with it.
Yeah, of course.
So
So what advice would you give to younger you?
search out financial advice, especially for credit cards, and don't use it as a bank card
Yeah,
at all.
definitely.
Yeah.
Pay it off as soon as you can. Yeah,
100%.
definitely. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
So I'd venture to guess that a lot of people watching this video has seen several of my other videos talking about just that. There's so many people now doing exactly that, getting into really heavy debt very early, around that college age, 18 to 21, 22, and then they're just stuck because either they have to go and pay off all the debt and live way below their means or get a very, very good job just to try to stay afloat, or they have to file for bankruptcy, and then you lose 5 to 7 years. So you wouldn't really be in good standing till you're around 30 years old now. You've lost several years and have to go through really difficult times, and it all could have just been avoided if people didn't think that credit cards were just easy swipes. Buying the newest iPhone or the newest electronic or clothes, all of that stuff that has just been promoted non-stop on social media for years now. So now we got some other ones we could go through.
Starting first with my college major. Even though I don't regret going to college, I do regret what I majored in because I really didn't do a lot of research about the career opportunities for this major, and I didn't really think too hard about what type of careers I would be interested in after college ended. So that when college ended, I was scrambling trying to figure out what type of job I was going to get.
Now this one I could go both ways with because it's in the same boat of everybody being pushed from high school to immediately get into tens of thousands of dollars worth worth of debt to get a piece of paper and a degree that allows you to go work for some corporate 9-to-5 or whatever. But at the same time, if you're spending all of this kind of money to get a specific degree, you should probably know what kind of job you're able to get with that degree instead of just graduating from college and then having to run around and try to find some job when you did no research before graduating with that degree, and now you're just kind of screwed. So that one's kind of back and forth for me. And one to kind of connect that with the college, I don't know if this comment was just trying to bait people out. I think it might be, or it might just be ridiculously out of touch, because this is kind of just nuts. I don't understand student loans at all. When I was going to college, my mother paid for my classes since I did not have enough money. So there were no replies to this. I don't know, because it honestly sounds to me like they were just baiting an argument from somebody in the comments. But if this was a genuine comment from a real person, I don't know what to say other than most people don't have parents to just pay for all of their college tuition, especially with how expensive it's gotten. So yeah, I'm just going to leave that one alone, and we're just going to move on, because that comment was kind of nuts.
The next regret I have is buying cryptocurrency. Because I'd already gotten pretty good investing advice before making this decision, I never put in more than I was able to lose, but I got. This was a really good lesson for me, because it taught me that any investing strategy that's promising you that you'll get rich immediately, you need to run to the hills, because it's not possible.
So you could say whatever you want with the stock market in general, and then cryptocurrency, whether it's the Bitcoin or the more stable, which isn't really that stable, but you know what I mean. Bitcoin, Ethereum, the big ones. And it's not just the random coins that go up 1,000% in an hour and then they get rug pulled, or just completely fake pump and dumps, all of that kind of stuff. But like we talked about earlier with the comment about many people running scams and brainwashing people, this has happened to a ton of people over the past few years with all the NFTs. I think NFTs just in general are basically gone now. I haven't heard anything about them in a couple years. So almost all of them have been some sort of rug pull or just losing a massive amounts of money, and that's kind of dead and gone. But it's the same thing with the cryptocurrency, and a lot of people have gotten burned by it. We have another comment here from you guys. The worst decision to make with your money is to gamble. It's catastrophic, and now you could take that in the way of maybe gambling in the market. Even if you do the index funds, you know, the SPYs, the NASDAQ, and all of that that's supposed to be more stable, it still is a gamble. You could take this comment in the same way of the NFTs and the cryptocurrency, or legitimate gambling. I've talked about it several times and will still talk about it over and over again in these videos, how much I hate actual gambling, you know, all the slots, the lottery, all the sports betting. I think it is very, very predatory and highly addictive to people. I mean, it's just completely okay now to let children gamble in video games, and there's really no regulation. So all of that kind of stuff is still pretty dangerous, and I would just say, honestly, do it at your own risk.
Promise, this is not skeezy investment advice. I just want to tell you the story of the worst investment mistake I have ever made. So I had around $60,000 in my Roth IRA, and every once in a while I would check on it and just be a little perplexed why it wasn't growing like my other accounts were. I think after a year it had grown maybe 10-11 cents, so I started asking around because that just didn't seem right. And I quickly realized that I never invested it. It was just sitting there like a checkings account, because you actually have to make your investment selections with a Roth IRA. So I invested it, and shortly after the stock market crashed, so all my accounts are in the red, including that one, which is really sad. Anyways, a lot of people forget to invest their Roth IRAs. So if you recently set up one, please triple check that it is actually invested in something. Don't be a loser like me.
So this is somebody that is still pretty financially literate if they are investing in a Roth IRA. She's doing more than a lot of people do in America right now. She ended up missing out on a lot of money, and because no matter what way you look at it, investing is still a gamble. Unfortunately, when she put her money into the market, it went down, losing some money. So pretty unlucky situation for her, but we're going to get into one of the classic car videos.
All right, bro, it's Birthday Miracle. Got you approved on that Scat Pack. They only want $3,000 down, and the payment's only $799 a month. So let's get it done.
Can't believe you got me approved, man.
Let's go.
Yeah, that $799 though, I can't swing that right now. And if I'm being truthful with you, that employment information I gave you wasn't actually accurate.
I got you, but the bank doesn't even want proof of income, so we don't got to prove all the details. As long as you got a job, you're good, bro.
Well, I don't have any income to prove because I don't have a job, bro.
Oh, you were just lying.
Yeah, I can't afford that.
But You a hustler, right? You a grinder? Get it out the mud?
Yeah,
That's what I thought. So you're going to figure that out. The bank approved it. No questions asked. So
all right.
let them worry about all that. I just need $3 grand down. I'll send you home in a Scat Pack right now.
I got $3 grand, but that's all I got to my name right now, man.
Let's go. Put it down on your dream car.
Yeah, but I was trying to start like a shoe, like clothing business down in the city. So
see, you really are a hustler. I got you. But who's gonna pull up to the shoe store if there ain't a cool car out front? This is an investment for the business.
Yeah.
If they see like a Prius or a Honda Accord out front, they drive right by. When they see the Scat Pack,
you right.
They see the Scat Pack out front. They're gonna stop right in and buy all the merch. So come on, bro. Let's invest in the business together.
All right, yeah. Makes sense.
I'm so
man.
happy for you, bro. That's what I'm talking about. Get out the mud.
So this is obviously exaggerated for comedic purposes, but this did happen at a pretty large scale over the past few years with people making a bit more money in the stock market or their jobs, real estate, all of that, and they ended up buying cars that they couldn't really afford, and then it turns into the repo videos that I've made on this channel. So this isn't happening as much anymore because the car market is finally starting to cool off. A lot of people aren't buying those overpriced cars. Those overpriced cars are starting to go down in price somewhat, but a lot of younger people, especially guys, will try to get these kind of cars that look cool or are really fast, even though they don't really have the income for it, and then they just get screwed in the future.
What's the biggest mistake financially?
People try to minimize their expenses and to save money, and what they don't know is they're just losing the opportunity to make more money. Every time I want to make more money, I just get a new car or something, and that for me, it pushed me up to make more money.
So in almost opposite contrast of the last clip, that guy, I get where he's coming from in the way of, say if you're put under stress, like you absolutely need to make money because you bought some car, you bought a house or something that is probably out of your price range or comfort zone. Maybe to some people, it would push them to work even more or find new ways to make money, and it would help them out, but a vast majority of people would just end up turning into all of the car payment videos where, you know, they can't afford the cars anymore, they make bad financial decisions, they get repoed, I mean, they could go into bankruptcy, and I think a lot of the comment section in this video definitely thought that too. Sounds like how you get stuck in the hamster wheel, and he definitely had daddy's money growing up, so I get where he's trying to come from with this comment, but I would say a vast majority of people would just end up living over their means and then just being a debt slave or in the hamster wheel and constantly, you know, killing themselves just to try to make enough money to pay the next month's rent or the next month's payment for whatever they bought.
So I want to share with you guys the biggest financial mistake that I made last year. And honestly, not even just last year, but my entire working career. It's so easy to fix. And no one really tells you these kind of things, and especially as nurses, we're not taught much about finance and that kind of thing. So I feel like this is really important to share. So up until last year, I had a Bank of America savings account. I was always taught, you know, put away a chunk of money from every paycheck into a savings account for emergencies, yada yada. But no one tells you that Bank of America, a regular bank savings account, sucks. You get 10 cents of interest, and you know, I just thought that's how it was until I saw actually another TikTok talking about a high interest savings account. So that's when I started looking into that more. I did a little bit of research. I looked at some finance blogs, and I already have a Capital One credit card. So I was like, oh, this will be easy. I'll just open up a high interest savings account with them as well and kind of keep it all together. You guys, the interest rate on these savings accounts compared to just a traditional savings account is crazy. I used to get like, I don't know, 5 cents of interest every month from my Bank of America, and now I'm getting like $40 of interest every month. And if I would have known this sooner, I would have had so much more money.
So I know this does definitely vary with the market. High interest savings accounts are pretty high right now, anywhere from like 4 to 5%. But just a couple years ago, around 2021, interest rates were very, very low. So it's not just something that is consistent for years and years, but normal savings accounts are almost at the level of just normal checkings accounts. So a lot of people don't know about the high interest savings account like I've talked about before. I've only had mine for maybe around 8 months or 10 months, and for the longest time I kept all of my money in a checkings account, which was pretty stupid, and I potentially lost thousands of dollars worth of interest over the years just because I didn't put mine in a high yield savings.
These are the 3 biggest financial mistakes I've made so far in my 20s. These are going to be ranked from least to most dumb, and also we're quantifying how much these financial mistakes cost me. Also, mind you, I'm only 24. I still have a lot of time in my 20s to make more financial mistakes, so these are all relative to like my age and my income. My first financial mistake is buying a new-ish car. I'm ranking this as least dumb because at the time it kind of made sense. When I bought my new car, my old car was having a ton of problems. It was breaking down all the time, and I was driving a ton for work. I would drive like almost every week, 5 hours down to West Virginia and 5 hours back. My dad didn't want me to be driving 10 hours a week in a car that was breaking down all the time, and my mileage reimbursement from work covered my car payment, so it definitely made sense when I bought it. But a month after I got that car, I actually quit that job and got a remote job, so my old car would have been totally fine. My car was $19,000, and I've probably paid a couple thousand in interest as well. We'll call this like a $24,000 financial mistake. Second is blowing all of my income senior year of college. I did not save even $1 that entire school year, and I was working a lot. My expenses were super low as a college student. I think my rent was like $600 a month. And at the end of the school year, I quantified how much money I made, and it was like close to $25,000, and I completely blew it all. So if you don't think that it's easy to spend that amount of money, you should track your expenses. We'll say that I should have saved at least 20% of my income that year. That's a $5,000 financial mistake. And third, getting a dog with my ex-boyfriend. If you missed this, my ex-boyfriend sued me for $5,000 for my dog when we broke up, making that a $5,000 financial mistake. So in total, my top 3 financial mistakes in my 20s cost me a whopping $34,000.
So I don't know too much about the last one with the dog, but buying a newer car and then not saving any money while you're in college is pretty common among a lot of these people talking about it in these videos, all throughout my channel, all throughout TikTok and YouTube as well. So it's just something to look out for. But that is the end of this video. I have been recording for quite a while now. Wow. But YouTube thinks you'll like this video popping up on screen right now. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, and I'll talk to you guys later.